Picture this. A 17-year-old girl standing outside her mother's small house in a remote Nigerian village. Her name is Sylvia. She's holding two heavy bags packed with everything she owns. Her heart is racing. Her smile won't stop. Today is the day her life changes forever. Or so she thinks. Neighbors wave at her, calling out blessings. "Safe journey, oh! God go follow you." Sylvia waves back shyly, feeling tall even though she's never left her village before. She's never seen a skyscraper, never tasted restaurant food, never slept in a room with air conditioning. But today, all of that is about to change. Standing beside her is Aunty Gladys, her mother's younger sister, the fancy city woman everyone in the village admires. Aunty Gladys wears expensive clothes, speaks with a confident voice, and smells like expensive perfume. She's been living in Lagos for years, unmarried but successful, always helping the family whenever they need money. To everyone in the village, Aunty Gladys is a hero. "It will be fine," Aunty Gladys says, patting Sylvia's back. "You will love the city. There is light 24 hours, water from taps, everything you can think of. Not like this village." Sylvia smiled wider, trying to hide the nervous butterflies in her stomach. For the past week, Aunty Gladys has been talking about an incredible opportunity, a job in the city, working as a housemaid for a billionaire named Chief Harrison. He's a very good man, a trusted friend, very wealthy. He needs someone humble, young, and willing to learn. When Aunty Gladys mentioned the salary, Sylvia's mother, Mrs. Kendra, almost fainted. 150,000 naira per month, more money than their entire family had ever seen. Sylvia has 4 siblings, 3 boys and 1 little girl. Her father died when Sylvia was young, leaving Mrs. Kendra with nothing. Since then, they've survived by working on farms, carrying baskets, planting crops, harvesting for others in exchange for small money or food. When Mrs. Kendra told Sylvia about the city job, Sylvia could barely breathe. This was their miracle. This was how her siblings would finally go to school, how they'd finally eat 3 meals a day, how they'd finally stop sleeping on empty stomachs. Her siblings cried when she packed. The youngest, Mary, held her tightly. "Please remember us," she whispered in her tiny voice. Sylvia promised, "I will send money, I will send gifts, I promise." Her mother hugged her last, tears streaming down her face. "My daughter, be strong. Listen to Aunty Gladys. Do your best. God will be with you." After prayers and tears, Sylvia left with Aunty Gladys. The journey to Lagos was endless. They rode in a noisy bus filled with strangers. Sylvia spent most of the trip staring out the window, watching her world transform. Villages shrank away, tall buildings rose like mountains, cars multiplied, noise increased. Everything became bigger, louder, stranger. Sylvia clutched her bags tightly. Everything frightened her a little, but everything amazed her too. She stayed with Aunty Gladys for 1 full week before moving to Chief Harrison's house. During that week, her mind was blown daily. She tasted jollof rice cooked with real chicken, not the tough village chicken they ate once a year. She slept on a soft bed that felt like clouds. She felt cold air blowing from a machine inside the house. Aunty Gladys taught her everything. How to use shiny kitchen tools, how to operate washing machines, how to make beds with hospital corners, how to iron clothes without burning them, how to clean glass without leaving streaks. "When you start working," Aunty Gladys repeated constantly, "keep your mouth shut, do what they say, respect everyone, never argue, never complain." Sylvia nodded each time, absorbing every lesson. But late at night, lying in the guest room, Sylvia would cry quietly. She missed home. She missed her siblings. She wondered if they were eating well, if her mother was managing without her help on the farm. Still, she reminded herself, this job will change everything. Just work hard, send money home, make Mama proud. Finally, after 1 week, Aunty Gladys said, "Pack your things. Tomorrow we go." Sylvia's hands shook as she folded her clothes. Auntie Gladys helped with last-minute tips. "You must be obedient. This man is very important. He has money, power, everything. He likes quiet, clean people." Sylvia nodded, praying silently that she wouldn't disappoint.
The next day, they drove to Chief Harrison's house. The moment Sylvia saw the gate, her mouth fell open. The gate alone was twice the size of her village community hall. Security guards in dark uniforms stood there holding guns. They didn't smile. They barely blinked. Sylvia swallowed hard. When the gate opened, she saw paradise. Bright green grass that looked like carpet, tall trees trimmed into perfect shapes, fountains spraying water into the air, and a mansion that looked like it was made of gold and glass. Her heart almost stopped beating. "This is it," Auntie Gladys whispered, smiling proudly. They walked inside. Everywhere Sylvia looked, there were guards. Some patrolled the grounds, others stood like statues at corners. Even inside, girls in uniforms moved silently through hallways, eyes down, mouths closed. Everything felt too quiet, too controlled, like the walls had ears and eyes. Sylvia's knees shook. She held tightly to her bags. In the living room sat a man on a massive leather chair. He wore a crisp white shirt and a gold watch that sparkled like the sun. He looked gentle at first glance, with a calm smile and kind eyes, but something about him felt wrong, too smooth, too calculated. "That's Chief Harrison," Auntie Gladys whispered. They approached. Auntie Gladys bowed slightly. "Chief, this is the girl I told you about." Chief Harrison looked at Sylvia slowly, studying her from head to toe like she was a product he was inspecting before purchase. Then he smiled, a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Welcome to my house, Sylvia," he said. His voice was warm but heavy, like honey mixed with something bitter. Sylvia smiled nervously. "Thank you, sir." Chief stood up and shook her hand. His hand felt cold. He held her hand longer than necessary, his thumb brushing across her knuckles in a way that made her skin crawl. But Sylvia didn't think much of it. She was just nervous. "You will be fine here," he said, still smiling. A maid stepped forward and bowed. "I will show her to her room." Sylvia waved goodbye to Auntie Gladys. "I will come to see you," Auntie Gladys said loudly, hugging her. "Be a good girl." Sylvia followed the maid upstairs. Her room was simple but neat. She placed her bags on the floor and sat on the bed, feeling the weight of everything pressing down on her chest. Downstairs, she could hear Auntie Gladys laughing loudly with Chief Harrison. Sylvia wondered what was so funny. She smiled a little, thinking it must be adult talk she wouldn't understand yet. She had no idea that laughter was the sound of a deal being finalized, a deal where she was the product and Auntie Gladys was the seller.
The next morning, Sylvia woke up at 5 a.m. She washed quickly, got dressed, and started cleaning. She dusted tables, washed dishes, swept the massive sitting room, wiped glass surfaces until they shone like mirrors. She worked faster than she ever had at home, desperate to impress. When Chief Harrison came downstairs, Sylvia greeted him. "Good morning, sir. What would you like for breakfast?" Chief smiled gently. "Just coffee." Sylvia hurried to make it, her hands trembling slightly as she served him. She tried not to spill a single drop. Chief sipped his coffee, nodded approvingly, and left with some of his guards. Others stayed behind, watching her. Sylvia cleaned all day. There were so many rooms, so many windows, so many things she didn't even know how to use yet. Her feet hurt, but she kept going. She couldn't afford to fail. Night came, Chief Harrison still wasn't back. Sylvia sat in the kitchen fighting sleep, determined to serve his dinner before going to bed. Her eyes felt heavy. Finally, around 10 p.m., she heard footsteps. Chief had returned. "You can go to sleep," he said quietly. "I don't want dinner." Sylvia bowed and walked to her room. She felt like a bag of cement, heavy, exhausted, empty. She collapsed onto a bed and fell asleep instantly. Much later that night, she felt something, a warm hand brushing her arm. She thought she was dreaming. She was too tired to move. The touch came again, slower this time, moving to her shoulder. Sylvia's eyes snapped open, her breath caught in her throat. Chief Harrison stood beside her bed. Her heart hammered so loudly she could hear it in her ears. She tried to sit up, but her body felt frozen. "It's okay," he said in a low, calm voice. "Don't be afraid. Relax. I will be done soon. You will go back to sleep." Sylvia's mind screamed. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Then she saw him, a guard standing at the door, blocking the exit. He stared straight ahead, cold and emotionless. Sylvia's voice cracked. "Please, no." Chief smiled. "Your auntie told me you are a virgin. This is exactly what I like." He moved closer. Sylvia's fear exploded inside her like a trapped animal. She wanted to fight, to scream, to run, but her body shook uncontrollably. The room felt too big. The walls felt too thick. Her voice broke into small, desperate cries. "No, please, please." Chief ignored her words. Time moved slowly and quickly at the same time. Her tears ran freely. Her cries stayed locked inside the thick walls of the room. No one came. No one saved her. When it was over, the guard stepped forward and placed money on the small table beside a bed. Crisp 50,000 naira notes. Sylvia didn't touch it. She couldn't even look at it. Chief walked toward the door. He turned back and stared at her with cold, dead eyes. "If you tell anyone," he said quietly, "I will kill your family, your mother, your brothers, your little sister, all of them. Do you understand?" Those words scared her more than anything that had just happened.
The next day, Auntie Gladys visited. She came bearing gifts, colorful bags filled with dresses, shoes, soaps that smelled like flowers, and snacks. She walked into Sylvia's room with a huge smile plastered across her face like nothing bad had ever happened. "Welcome, my love," she sang. "I heard you did so well yesterday. I brought these things for you." She arranged the gifts on the bed like trophies. But Sylvia didn't even look at them. Suddenly, she burst into tears. Her shoulders shook as she cried loudly, hiding her face in her palms. "Auntie, I want to go back to my mother," she sobbed. "I don't want to stay here. Please, please take me home." Auntie Gladys's smile slowly melted away. She blinked, then moved closer and wrapped her arms around Sylvia's shoulders. "Oh, my daughter," she said softly, but her voice didn't sound kind. "Why are you talking like this? Don't you know your mother will be proud of you?" Sylvia pulled back, confused. Auntie Gladys continued quickly. "She told me he gave you some money last night. That is a blessing. This is how you build your life. This is how you become rich and give your family a good life. Not by staying in that village wasting your life with farm work." Sylvia stared at her auntie in shock. Her mouth felt dry. Her legs felt weak. "You should be grateful I recommended you for this job," Auntie Gladys continued. "Other people begged for this role, but I chose you because of my sister, because I love you." Sylvia's world collapsed. Her auntie had known. Her auntie had planned it. Her auntie had sold her. She wanted to scream, to ask why, to ask how someone who shared her blood could do this. But the words got stuck in her throat. She only stared at her auntie like a broken doll. Auntie Gladys sighed as if Sylvia was complaining about something trivial. "You will thank me later." Before leaving, she leaned close, her voice turning ice cold. "Listen carefully. Do not tell your mother what happened. If you speak, Chief will do what he promised." Sylvia's stomach dropped. Aunty Gladys laughed, a wicked, playful laugh that echoed in the room. "Make sure you take very good care of Chief for me," she said, brushing her hands together as if she'd finished important business. She walked out and closed the door gently. The moment the door clicked shut, Sylvia fell to the floor. Her cries echoed around the room, loud and heavy. She pressed her face to her face and wept until her throat burned. The pain inside her chest felt like fire. Her own auntie, the woman she trusted, the one she believed was helping her, had sold her. Sold her like she was nothing, like she was a bag of rice at the market.
Days turned into weeks. Chief came every night. Sometimes he brought gifts, clothes, shoes, jewelry. He thought he could buy her silence. Sylvia stopped crying because crying never helped. She stopped pushing because pushing never saved her. She just lay still and waited for each night to end. In the mornings, she cleaned every room, polished every surface, prepared meals, served silently. The guards watched her like silent shadows. There was no escape. Aunty Gladys visited often, always with more gifts, always asking the same question: "Are you taking good care of Chief?" Sylvia would nod slowly, her soul dying a little more each time. One afternoon, Sylvia woke feeling strange. Her stomach twisted, her head pounded. The smell of food made her want to vomit. She tried to ignore it, but the sickness grew worse. When Chief noticed, he called a nurse. The nurse came to the house, a beautiful woman in a crisp white uniform. She ran tests quietly, efficiently. When she looked at the results, her eyes widened. She stared at the paper, then at Sylvia, then back at the paper. "What is it?" Sylvia asked in a shaky voice. The nurse forced a smile. "Let me call Chief." Minutes later, Chief entered the room. The nurse held the paper close to her chest. "She is 2 months pregnant," the nurse said quietly. Sylvia's eyes widened, her body froze. "Pregnant?" Chief's face changed instantly. The calm smile disappeared. His eyes turned dark and sharp. "Take care of it," he said coldly. "You know what to do." The nurse nodded quickly. Sylvia grabbed her blanket, trying to move away. "No, please, please!" But the nurse moved toward her with a syringe. "It will be fast," she whispered, sadly, as if she didn't want to do it but had no choice. Sylvia tried to push her away, but she was too weak. The needle entered her arm. Within minutes, sharp pain exploded in her stomach. She cried and screamed, but her voice seemed far away. She knew, deep in her heart, the baby was gone. Tears flooded down her cheeks like rivers. Her chest felt empty. She hugged herself and sobbed, feeling like a part of her soul had been ripped out. This happened again and again and again. Every time she got pregnant, the nurse came. The pattern repeated. Each time cut her heart deeper.
Weeks turned into months. Sylvia stopped counting days. She felt like she'd lived in this prison forever. Then, one day, something unexpected happened. She was in her room folding clothes when she heard loud voices downstairs. Not normal voices, serious, commanding voices. She rushed to her window and saw men entering the compound. They wore dark uniforms with shiny badges. Their boots hit the floor loudly as they marched through the house. Sylvia's heart raced. Who were they? She stepped out of her room carefully. From the top of the stairs, she saw the guards lying on the floor with their hands up. The uniformed men moved quickly through every room, searching. One officer looked up and saw her. He walked toward her with firm steps. "Who are you?" he asked loudly. "What are you doing here?" Sylvia froze. Her hands shook. Her mouth opened, but no words came. Then she burst into tears. Another man with kind eyes stepped forward. "Calm down, dear," he said gently. "Tell me what is wrong." Sylvia stepped back, terrified. Chief's threat echoed in her mind like thunder. "If you tell anyone, I will kill your family." The officer seemed to understand. He guided her outside, where the air felt fresh against her face. "Listen," he said softly. "My name is Sergeant Joshua. We are from a government agency investigating serious crimes. If you speak to me, I promise to protect you." Sylvia looked at him, unsure. Could she trust him? Sergeant Joshua rested a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Trust me, I will protect you and your family. Just tell me." His words felt sincere. Something in his voice gave her courage she thought she no longer had. With a trembling voice, she began to speak. She told him everything, how Aunty Gladys brought her, how Chief abused her nightly, how he threatened to kill her family, how the nurse came repeatedly, how she lost babies she never wanted but mourned anyway. She cried through every word. Sergeant Joshua listened, his face serious, jaw clenched with anger. He'd heard many terrible stories in his career, but this one felt heavy. "We will handle this," he said firmly. "You are safe now." Within hours, Chief Harrison was arrested. He shouted, argued, threatened, but the officers took him away in handcuffs. Aunty Gladys arrived in the middle of the chaos. Before she could run, officers grabbed her too. She screamed that she was innocent, but no one listened. The news spread like wildfire. Newspapers carried the story. TV stations covered it non-stop. Back in the village, Mrs. Kendra almost fainted when she heard. She cried until her eyes turned red, unable to believe her own sister could do such evil. She rushed to Lagos on the first bus. When she saw Sylvia, they both collapsed into each other's arms, crying loudly. "Mama, I'm sorry," Sylvia sobbed. "No, my baby, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I thought you were safe."
After Chief Harrison and Aunty Gladys were arrested, the real work began. Sergeant Joshua assembled a special investigation team. They needed evidence. They needed witnesses. They needed to build a case so strong that Chief Harrison's money and connections couldn't save him. The investigation revealed horrors beyond what anyone imagined. When officers searched Chief Harrison's mansion, they found a hidden room. Inside were files, dozens of files containing photos, documents, and records. Each file belonged to a girl, some as young as 15. Sylvia's file was there too. It contained her background information, her family details, even photos of her siblings and mother. Chief Harrison had been monitoring her family the entire time, making sure his threats would work. But Sylvia wasn't the first. She wasn't even the 10th. The police discovered that Chief Harrison had been doing this for over 12 years. Aunty Gladys wasn't his only recruiter. There were others, women who pretended to help poor families while actually selling their daughters to him. The investigation team tracked down other victims. Some had escaped and were too traumatized to speak. Others had been returned to their villages after Chief got tired of them, sworn to silence by threats and shame. But when they heard Sylvia had spoken up, something changed. One by one, they began to come forward. The first was Ada, now 23 years old. She'd been brought to Chief's house when she was 16, kept for 2 years, then sent back to her village with money and threats. She'd never told anyone. She'd gotten married, had children, and buried the trauma deep inside. But when she saw Sylvia's story on the news, she broke down crying. Her husband found her sobbing on the floor, and for the first time in 5 years, she told him everything. He brought her to the police station the next day. "I want to testify," Ada said, her voice shaking but determined. "I want to help that girl. I want to make sure he never does this again." Then came Blessing, age 21, then Chioma, age 19, then Kechi, age 25, then Grace, age 18.
By the end of the investigation, 17 girls had come forward. 17 lives destroyed. 17 families shattered. The nurse who had performed the illegal procedures was arrested too. At first, she refused to talk, claiming she was just following orders. But when faced with the evidence and the testimony of multiple victims, she finally broke down. "I was paid to do it," she confessed, tears streaming from her face. "He paid me 500,000 naira each time. I needed the money for my sick mother. I know it was wrong, but I was scared of him too." Her confession was damning. She revealed everything: dates, times, how many procedures she had performed, how Chief Harrison would call her whenever a girl got pregnant. The evidence was overwhelming. 17 victims, medical records, financial transactions, recorded phone calls, text messages, everything.
The trial became the biggest news story in Nigeria. Every day the courtroom was packed. Journalists filled the gallery. Cameras lined the entrance. The entire nation was watching. Chief Harrison arrived in court wearing expensive suits, flanked by a team of high-powered lawyers. He still carried himself with arrogance, believing his wealth and influence would save him. Aunty Gladys sat separately, looking smaller now, her flashy clothes replaced with simple prison garments. She kept her head down, avoiding eye contact with everyone. The prosecution called witness after witness. First came the police officers who had raided the mansion. They presented the hidden files, the photos, the evidence of Chief Harrison's systematic abuse. Then came the medical experts who examined the victims and confirmed their stories. Then came the financial analysts who traced the money trails, payments to recruiters like Aunty Gladys, payments to the nurse, payments to guards who had helped maintain the conspiracy of silence. But the most powerful testimonies came from the victims themselves. Ada went first. She sat in the witness box, her hands trembling, her voice barely above a whisper at first. But as she spoke, her voice grew stronger. "I was 16 years old," she said. "My aunt told me I was going to work as a housemaid. She told me it would help my family. Instead, I was trapped in that house for 2 years. 2 years of... Her voice broke. "I tried to escape once. The guards caught me. They beat me so badly I couldn't walk for a week." The courtroom was silent except for the sound of people crying. One by one, the other victims testified. Each story was unique, but the pattern was the same. Young girls from poor families, trusted relatives who betrayed them, a billionaire who used his power to destroy innocent lives. When it was Sylvia's turn to testify, Mrs. Kendra held her hand tightly before she walked to the witness stand. Sylvia looked directly at Chief Harrison. For months she'd been terrified of him, but now in this courtroom, surrounded by police and lawyers and judges, she felt different. She felt brave. "My name is Sylvia," she began, her voice clear and steady. "I am 17 years old. My auntie, Gladys Kendra, brought me to Lagos. She told me I would work as a housemaid for a good man. She lied. She told her story, every painful detail, the first night, the threats, the pregnancies, the forced procedures, the isolation, the fear." Chief Harrison's lawyers tried to interrupt, to object, to discredit her, but the judge silenced them. "Let her speak," the judge said firmly. When Sylvia finished, there wasn't a dry eye in the courtroom. Even some of the lawyers were wiping their faces. Then came the moment everyone had been waiting for. The prosecution called Aunty Gladys to the stand. At first, she tried to claim innocence. "I didn't know," she said, her voice weak. "I thought it was just a housemaid job. I was tricked too." But the prosecutor pulled out evidence, bank statements showing she'd received 2.3 million naira over the past year from Chief Harrison, text messages where she discussed recruiting new girls, phone records showing she'd spoken to him dozens of times before bringing Sylvia.
The prosecutor held up her phone records. Mrs. Gladys, you called Chief Harrison 5 times the day before you brought Sylvia to Lagos. What were you discussing if not the arrangement? Aunty Gladys's face went pale. She had no answer. How many girls did you bring to him? The prosecutor demanded. Silence. How many? Aunty Gladys's voice was barely a whisper. 8. The courtroom erupted. 8 girls, 8 families destroyed, all from money. Chief Harrison's turn came last. He took the stand with his head held high, still believing he could talk his way out. These girls are lying, he said smoothly. They're trying to extort money from me. I'm a respected businessman. I've donated millions to charity. Why would I do these things? The prosecutor smiled. Mr. Harrison, we have 17 victims. We have medical evidence. We have financial records. We have testimonies from your own employees. We have your secret files with photos and information about each girl's family. Chief Harrison's confident expression began to crack. We also have something else, the prosecutor continued. We have recordings. The courtroom went silent. What recordings? Chief Harrison's lawyer jumped up. Your client liked to film things, the prosecutor said. We found hidden cameras in the mansion. We found hard drives. We found everything. Chief Harrison's face turned white. His hands started shaking. For the first time since the trial began, he looked scared. The judge reviewed the evidence privately. The recordings were too disturbing to show in open court, but they were played for the judge and jury in a closed session. When they returned, several jury members were crying.
After 3 months of testimony, evidence, and arguments, the trial finally ended. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s named Justice Adebayo, looked at Chief Harrison with pure disgust. In all my years on the bench, she began, I have never encountered such calculated, systematic evil. You used your wealth and power to prey on the most vulnerable members of society. You destroyed innocent lives. You terrorized children. She paused, letting her words sink in. Chief Harrison, you are found guilty on all counts: human trafficking, sexual assault of minors, illegal imprisonment, conspiracy. The court sentences you to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The courtroom erupted in applause. People cheered. Victims hugged each other, crying tears of relief and joy. Chief Harrison sat frozen, unable to process what had just happened. His lawyers immediately filed appeals, but everyone knew it was over. Justice Adebayo turned to Aunty Gladys. Mrs. Gladys Kendra, you betrayed your own blood. You sold your niece and 8 other girls into slavery. You profited from their suffering. You are found guilty of human trafficking, conspiracy, and accessory to assault. The court sentences you to 25 years imprisonment. Aunty Gladys collapsed in the defendant's box, wailing, I'm sorry, Sylvia, please forgive me. But Sylvia didn't even look at her. She sat between her mother and Sergeant Joshua, her face calm, her eyes dry. She'd cry enough. Today was not a day for tears. Today was a day for justice. The nurse received 10 years for her role. Several guards received sentences ranging from 5 to 15 years. But the trial didn't just end with prison sentences. Justice Adebayo made one more announcement. Chief Harrison's assets will be seized and liquidated. The proceeds will be divided among the victims as compensation for their suffering. Additionally, the court is establishing a foundation in the victims' names to help other survivors of trafficking and abuse. After the trial, Sylvia's life slowly began to change. The compensation from Chief Harrison's seized assets meant her family would never struggle financially again. Mrs. Kendra used the money wisely. She bought a small piece of land, started a business, and ensured all her children went to school. But for Sylvia, healing wasn't about money.
It was about rebuilding herself from the inside. She was placed in a specialized trauma rehabilitation center where counselors helped her process everything that had happened. She attended therapy sessions. She joined support groups with other survivors. It was hard. Some days she couldn't get out of bed. Some nights she woke up screaming. The memories didn't just disappear because Chief Harrison was in prison, but slowly, very slowly, she began to heal. She learned that what happened to her wasn't her fault. She learned that shame belonged to her abusers, not to her. She learned that survival was its own form of strength. 6 months after the trial, Sylvia did something remarkable. She decided to go back to school. She enrolled in secondary school, joining students younger than her. At first, it was awkward. She was older, and everyone knew her story. It had been all over the news. But Sylvia held her head high. She studied hard. She made friends. She discovered she was good at mathematics and English. 2 years later, she graduated with excellent grades. At the graduation ceremony, she gave a speech that brought everyone to tears. "My name is Sylvia," she began. "Many of you know my story. You know what happened to me. But today, I want you to know something else about me. I am a survivor. I am a student. I am a daughter who made her mother proud. I am proof that our past does not define our future." The audience stood and applauded for 5 minutes straight. Sergeant Joshua attended the graduation. He'd stayed in touch with Sylvia and her family, checking on them regularly. He'd become like a protective uncle. "I'm proud of you," he told her afterward. "Thank you," Sylvia said, "for saving me, for believing me, for giving me a chance to have this life." "You saved yourself," Sergeant Joshua replied. "I just opened the door. You walked through it." Today, Sylvia is studying at university. She's majoring in social work, determined to help other survivors of trafficking and abuse. She speaks at conferences. She shares her story to raise awareness. She's become an advocate for stronger laws protecting vulnerable children. Her siblings are all in school now. Her mother's small business is thriving. They live in a modest but comfortable house in their village. Chief Harrison remains in prison, where he will spend the rest of his life. Aunty Gladys is also behind bars, cut off from the family she betrayed. But for Sylvia, justice wasn't just about seeing her abusers punished. Justice was about reclaiming her life, about proving that she was more than what happened to her. Every night before bed, she looks at a photo of herself from that first day she left the village, young, innocent, smiling, carrying those heavy bags. She's different now, older, scarred, but also stronger, wiser, unbreakable, and finally, truly free. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next heart-touching story. Comment what time it is and where you're watching from. More drama, lessons, and hope await. Peace.